Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of WeAreSC's Arledge's 10 Questions. We have our two courageous competitors this week. I think Hulkin's on a two. Are you on a two-game win streak right now?
I is.
He's the only Trojan that's on a two-game win streak this week, and we're very excited for him. Uh, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some of it involving Michigan, some of it involving the usual nonsense. But we have a good show for you. Score is 0-0. 10 questions, winner take all. And by all, I mean, a little bit of pride. That's all you get. But it's better than nothing. Okay. Question number one. We'll start with Eric since he hasn't won in 2 weeks. He's like the Bruins. Uh, I mean, that's a little bit unfair. Eric, who is USC's defensive MVP after 3 games?
It's Eric Gentry. I mean, I get to pick and another Eric, so that's fun. I mean, I'm gonna say Mark has to go with a player because the answer is obviously a coach, but Eric Gentry is who I'm going with, and then framing Mark's answer so he can't cheat.
That's good. That's good. That's not only is it a solid answer, but you also have some good tactics thrown in. Mark, are you going to try to cheat? Or are you just going to give us a good answer?
I'm not going to look. If Eric wants to take the Michigan officiating route to win this game, more power to you, my brother. If I was losing two in a row, I'd probably do the same thing.
You will.
I definitely would. But he's correct. The answer is Eric Gentry. Close second, Jalen Smith. I mean, to see the difference between these two players this year compared to last year, who knew that all it would take would be solid coaching and a really good scheme? Who knew? But Jalen
Uh,
Smith playing
Look, I'll
fantastic.
say this. Eric Gentry would have been a good player last year, too.
Yeah.
That Eric Gentry couldn't get on the field for that abomination of a defense once again raises questions about Alex Wrench's sanity. I don't understand it. That guy's been a football player since he showed up on campus, and he has been a stud this year. And his short punch to the football to knock that out was just enormous. But this is a guy who's played big, not just in the passing game, which he's always been a terror in the passing game. But he's been fantastic against the run, knifing in, getting tackles for loss, and yeah, the answer is Eric Gentry. Eric gets the point because it was a layup, but I wanted to give him a good start. We've seen what happens if he doesn't get off to a good start. It's just all bad from there. So it's McKinney 1, Culkin 0. All right, Mark. After the Michigan loss, is it time to change your season prediction? What was your season prediction? Tell us again.
And then two.
Okay. Are you going to change it now? I mean, 2-1. We already have one of those two.
As I, I'm going to leave the prediction for right now. I want to change it despite the loss. I think this team is in a really good position to build off of that loss. What's holding me back from saying, nope, 10-2 is not good enough. 11-1 will get it done. I need to get that injury report. I need to see how healthy this team is. They took big hits in that game against Michigan. That's my only concern why I'm not ready to step over the threshold and say, yeah, you know what? This team is good enough to be 11-1.
I don't know that that would be my only concern, but that's a good
Well,
concern.
we can talk about the offensive line as well,
Yes.
but again, I think this sets up well enough. USC's tough games now are at home.
All right, McCulkin still has us 10-2. Your preseason prediction was you were a 9-3 guy, weren't you?
Yes.
You still feel good about that, or are you going to adjust upward?
Well, I don't feel good about having more losses in my prediction than you guys. That's
I mean,
what I'm trying to do.
well, I waffled. I was 10-2 or 9-3. I couldn't make up my mind. So I feel good about mine. What do you think?
So yeah, 9-3. I'll stay there. I think when you look at Penn State, Notre Dame, I'd be surprised right now if they win both those games, even though they are at home. And then I think when you add up sort of the the percentage chance to win all those other games, you find a loss in there somewhere just with a trip or whatever. I mean, the injury report, yeah, I mean, Lake is a key piece, Mackay is a key piece. Getting those guys back is big, but you're not going to get more healthy as these games sort of chalk up as you go along here. I mean, you've got kind of the grind right now before another bye week in November. So that's going to happen. It's going to happen. And if it hits at really difficult positions, all of a sudden you got to go play somebody that next week. And everybody left, Minnesota we'll see, but everybody out there's got a bit of a pulse or something where it's a road game at Maryland. I mean, there's a lot that SC has to play against. So if everything goes right, yeah, I think I'm low in 9-3, but I could see it sort of playing out where there's two more out there.
Well, as much as I want Lake McCree and Mackay Lemon to come back, I think those are two spots where USC is going to be okay if those guys are out a bit. I think we should retire that stupid play that got McCree hurt. They run it 3 times a game, and it's worked about once in the last 3 years. I'm so sick of watching that. Um, that being said, while what Eric said made perfect sense, and I understand the math of it, I'm not going to reward a guy for saying 9-3. I'm just not, Mark. I'm not.
Shouldn't.
I shouldn't and I won't. Mark Hogan gets a point. It's 1-1. Okay. This is a layup question for you, Eric. Thing you like best about this 2024 USC football team?
It's big, it's broad, it's the defense, right? It's the heart that they play with. It's their attitude when they go on the field. And I do think I don't want to separate from the offense because they play hard also. But oh my goodness. I mean, I remember it's not the exact same because they're not quite there yet, but in San Diego, there were a couple of Chargers teams where they just led the league by a million yards in rush defense. I mean, 20 yards a game. And the chant would break out, you can't run, you can't run. Like to have that feeling, again, it's not there, but compared to what it's been, it feels like they're giving up negative yards on each play. And so to have a defense where you feel good about sending them out there, hey, we're going to get this ball back. It's a different feeling watching a program that can do that. Again, I know people are going, oh, but the 3 runs, the 3 plays, the 24 points to a team or 27 points to a team that can't throw the ball. No, it's not great. But the feeling that they play with and the attitude, the effort, the hitting, that's been great to watch from the defense.
Well, it's 20 points to that team, not 27. Don't do that to us, Eric.
Right.
But I agree with that. I look, I said going in, I thought it was a layup. He went with the heart and run defense. He said like 3 different things. I'm not sure what his answer really was, but he hit on a lot of things that make sense. Mark, what do you have? Give me something better than that. I want to give you the point. I really do.
Well, it's hard when Eric's taking 3 layup shots to make the layup. The best thing about
Play some defense. Keep them out of the key.
the best thing about this team is they don't quit. I mean, that you highlighted that Woody Marks play. That was the play of the game, even though they didn't win. To go take the ball away from the guy and get the ball back tells me that this team is not going to quit. Even when they were down, they had less than a minute left to try and, go score. There was no quit in them. And that's what I love about this team. It is completely different than what we saw at the end of last year. They just wanted to play that season out, not this team. Eric used the word heart. These guys are playing like a champion right now. They just need to clean up some stuff. They need to get that offensive line better. But I love the no quit attitude. I love the culture that Danton Lynn and the defensive coaching staff have been able to infuse, not just on that side of the ball, on the offensive side of the ball as well. And that was spotlighted with Woody Marks. I mean, you cannot understate how important that was, because if he doesn't get that ball back, I'm not sure how that game actually turns out final score wise. That was a soul crushing type of thing that could have happened.
Yeah, look, this is not the best USC team we've ever watched. It's not the most talented USC team we've ever watched, but I really respect the way these guys play. I mean, they were down to LSU. LSU had the ball. They had to get a stop. And this is from a defense that hadn't gotten a stop in 18 years. They get the stop, and they not only drive down, but they punch it in the end zone. That took huge guts. It took huge guts to come back from 14-0 down at the big house and come back. I love the way this team plays. They play with heart and they're fun to watch. I think they're going to be fun to watch the whole year. There are enough holes in this team that yes, it is possible we could have a couple more losses along the way. I concede that, despite the fact that I penalized Eric for saying that. That being said, um, I don't think you're going to see any games like we've seen over the last few years. That whole Dante Williams interim period where they didn't show up almost ever. That's not going to happen. That UCLA game last year where they didn't show up for their crosstown rivals. That kind of nonsense isn't going to happen with this team. I feel very comfortable saying that. Good team, fun to watch. You both get a point. Congratulations. Okay, here we go though. I think I know you're going to go with this, Mark. What's the thing about this team that you thought would be a lot better?
Oh, I mentioned at the top the wide receivers. Um, I, Disappointing right now. It's crazy how they make the most difficult catch look easy, but they make the easy catch look difficult. Zachariah Branch, I want to say right now he's in a sophomore slump. I can't think of anything else other than he's overrated. And I don't want to say that word when it comes to Zachariah Branch because I know what he's capable of doing. But right now, he's not performing up to his abilities. I don't think we're seeing enough in the red zone from our wide receivers, particularly, this might come down to the play calling, but when you've got a couple of 6 foot, you know, 1 6'4", 1 6'6", they both have long arms, they both can jump like they play basketball. You got to take advantage of those. And I don't think they're doing it. And I brought up, the injury report. Makai Lemon I'm not going to say he's the best of the bunch. However, he makes those tough catches over the middle. And I don't know if USC has the wide receiver right now to make that happen. Hopefully he'll be healthy to play. I'm not sure that'll be happening either.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. Less big plays than I expected, more drops than I expected, and I think the blocking Saturday was bad. Was
Terrible.
bad, and so yeah, I'm disappointed. I still think the receiver room is fantastically talented. They need to play better. You called out Zach Branch. Branch may have had the best game of the wide receivers the other day. Although it's hard to say. He was partially complicit in the pick six. He had a drop, but he also had what 98 yards receiving. Those guys need to play better, and I
43
and
of
I
that came
expected
on
them
one
to
play.
play better.
43 of that came on one play.
Yeah. Yeah, well, with Zach Branch, that's what you're going to get, right? I
Sure.
mean, he's a guy who you expect is going to give you a 40-yard play or so every week. But
I can overlook his drops if he's not fair catching every single punt or kickoff that's coming to him.
yeah,
And I think I
yeah,
have
no,
that's playing with me as well.
I think something's going on in his head, and I suspect he'll snap out of it. But wide receivers is a good one. That's the answer I had written down in my notes, Eric. What do you have?
Yeah, mine was in that vein. It's sort of the lack of like explosive set up for that wide receiver group. Like you're seeing that Zachariah Branch big play is he's got a guy draped all over him. It's an unbelievable sort of throw fading away from Miller and puts it right on him where it needs to be. Defender can't quite grab him and then he goes. But you're just it feels like you're just not seeing a whole lot of man, that thing was set up unbelievably well. That guy got the ball in space and he's off and going. And there's sort of a disconnect there right now. Jacoby Lane, if 9 catches through 3 games, Deuce Robinson 4 catches through 3 games. It's that double-edged sword of one of the great things about Miller Moss is he can read the whole field. And he's going to spread the ball around and he's going to get it all over the place. And then you also want to have the conversation. hey, why aren't you feeding your big playmakers and getting the ball to them? And then, when you run plays for Lake and Kyron's made some unbelievable catches, like that ball is getting spread around so much, and the opportunities for maybe the guys that we assumed would be some of those big play guys coming in, it feels sort of few and far between. And again, I think you've seen it on the scoreboard against the only two games that really have mattered when you're going to judge like what you're doing offensively and defensively, how good you are there. I think, I mean, you have to say, I think we expected more from the offensive line. Again, we're grading them against Michigan, but even against LSU, right, if they had played the same way against LSU as in the rest of the games, Miller took hits in that game too. I mean that was not flawless, and there was some, it's out of the gate. The dome plus the LSU fans made that sort of a difficult environment. I think it'll be interesting. A better team, Wisconsin, in a hopefully home atmosphere. There's going to be Wisconsin fans at the Coliseum this weekend. So maybe that gets us a better sense of where they are through this. But I think you have to, because of how bad it was for long stretches against Michigan, I think you have to throw that group in there as well. But yeah, I mean, I think we thought that the wide receivers would come out and do whatever they wanted against these defensive backs.
I mean, part of the problem, I suppose, is that when you don't have a lot of time to throw, you don't have a lot of time to let those guys work downfield. But if you don't have a lot of time to throw, you certainly have the opportunity to throw some fades, to throw some quick hitches, which they did a little bit to guys and let them run. But it's been a little bit disappointing. I think they'll get better. One of the things that's easy to forget is that route running is not just about getting open is not just about your speed and your size, but there's some technical skill to it. And you saw it with shoot, I shouldn't blank on his name because he was a stud for us last year. Number 16 last year, wide receiver.
Taj Washington.
Yeah, Taj Washington. Early in Taj Washington's career, he had trouble getting open. He just didn't have the technical skills yet. Last year, he was open all the time. So I think these guys will continue to get better, but I did expect them to be more explosive and more consistent.
You think we see more Jay Fair in the game going forward now? Because he came in, got a couple of receptions, looked good.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that if you're USC's coaches, I think you look at the four sophomores and you say these guys all have the talent to be, 8, 10 year NFL players, and you're not quick to walk away from that. And it's not like they've been unproductive. I just expected more. And so I think by the time you get to the end of the season, we'll see if they're in a position to make more plays, but you're probably going to have to, right? I mean, you're going to need to make some plays downfield against Penn State and Notre Dame. Certainly. Okay. You guys are both giving the same answers to all the questions, so I'll keep giving you the same points. All right, here we go. Rate the Big House game day experience. Eric, I've never been to the Big House. How was it?
So it loses a bit for media because it's fully enclosed, right? The glass is enclosed, so you don't quite get, there's like a little window up above that can open anytime. You don't quite get the full atmosphere fan experience of being there that you do in some of the other stadiums, which is great. Now, I will say the town, the game day experience, the feel, all of that, unbelievable. Unbelievable. One of absolutely bullet point right at the top, best away game experiences I've been to. It was the first time they did the stripe out. Look great. Stadium is in a great spot. The campus, unbelievable. 2028. 2028. Next time USC goes to Michigan, that's got to go. That's got to get down on the calendar for USC fans.
Mark?
Yeah. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to the USC fans. They showed up. I mean, there was a lot of red in that stadium, more than I anticipated seeing. Now, to what Eric's point about, we're coming at this from the media side of it. The press box, big, it's huge, a lot of space. But like he said, the windows are closed. Greg's going to appreciate this. Who in the hell serves fish? That was our meal. They were giving us fried fish sticks to make fish tacos. The windows don't open. So number one, I hate fish. Number two, I can't stand the smell of fish. Number
Like bandit camps out of the box? Is that what
maybe a
they're
little,
doing?
maybe whatever the next brand up was. I'll say this: it looked very much like Del Taco type of fish sticks. So the windows don't open. Now the stink is staying inside. And then after the game, usually, they allow the media to go on the field for the last 5, 6 minutes, kind of gets themselves in a position to go to the press conference. Not at the big house. Nope. Instead, you have to leave the stadium, walk outside the outside of the stadium through 100,000 fans that are coming at you to go back inside to find the press room. That was Bush League. And I'm starting to come to the conclusion that the Big Ten is kind of cheap when it comes to serving the media. I saw it at Big Ten Media Day. I got my first experience at the Big House. You're not impressing me. As a fan, I would have had a great time sitting in the stands, experiencing everything else. From the media standpoint, Big House sucked.
Okay, so look, Mark Hulkin's going to get the point because I never anticipated that we would enter into a discussion of fish sticks in response to that question, like completely out of the blue. It was a trick play. It was a trick play I never saw coming. That was like Chris Peterson against OU pulling out the hook and ladder, Statue of Liberty stuff. 4-3. I'm not sure if
I
it's
checked.
deserved, but
I for people watching this who are turned off that there's only fish to eat at Michigan Stadium. The fans can choose. There's other options. They can choose other things.
See,
So don't let that.
that's not true. Ask Brandon. They ran out of freaking hot dogs at this game. It's like
only
this
fish
place never.
sticks.
It's like this place never had 100,000 fans showing up.
You heard it here first.
Hot
They
dogs.
just bring in truckloads of those fish sticks out of a box you buy in the freezer section of your grocery store. They heat them up. It's all it smells. It smells like fish sticks everywhere. That's a tough situation. And Mark, I'm glad you came through it. You get a point, even though I can't believe I'm giving you an award for that. Okay, 4-3. One quarter of the way into this season, what has surprised you the most, Mark?
That the offensive line looks the way they're playing. I thought they would be. I didn't expect them to be national championship level, but I did anticipate them being better. And right now,
I thought they looked like they did against LSU, right? That didn't surprise me. I thought,
I don't.
okay, we struggled, but
That's why I'm saying I have to see how they perform against Wisconsin. They played 3 games. They got through the LSU game. They dominated the Utah State game. They looked like little kids against Michigan. If they can bounce back, handle Wisconsin's defense, control the line of scrimmage. Show me you can control the line of scrimmage. You can give Miller Moss more than 1.5 seconds to read his route tree. I'll take back what I just said. But right now, I think that's the most disappointing.
all right, Eric, give me something unexpected here. What are you most surprised about?
Well, I'm gonna go positive surprise. Mark sounds like a guy who thinks they're gonna lose 2 more games and go 9-3 this year. I don't know.
Is your fish
Uh,
sticks? Yeah, I know what you're saying.
it's how good the defensive front has been just in terms of physically holding up against everybody. There were the guarantee they can't be worse. They're going to be better. They're going to be better coming in. They're going to be better. We said the same thing going from 2022 to 2023. How could they be worse? They got to be better. They weren't. There was a major confidence that they could be better. There was also a major thought that, boy, they didn't seem to add anybody of real consequence in that offseason. And those 2 guys they've brought in have been really good. Not perfect. Again, we're not talking about a top 3 defense in the country who's shutting everybody out. I understand there's a different conversation. We're talking about what Texas needs and what Georgia needs and those schools. Uh, but the positive surprise of just how good and competent that group has been and how, I mean, a full 8-man rotation, you could probably go to 10 over the next few games as those freshmen get set a little bit more. It's been really good.
I'm with you on that completely. And the truth is, if you're a defensive lineman trying to figure out where you want to play, uh, USC's defensive staff has, in a couple of months, taken Nate Clifton. Nobody had ever heard of him, right? Gavin Meyer, nobody definitely heard of him. Kobe Pepe, nobody had heard of this guy except USC fans. And I wasn't even sure if he was on the roster. I had no idea. They've taken those three guys and had them go toe to toe with the LSU offensive line, which was supposed to be the best in the country, and the Michigan offensive line at the big house. That is a remarkable achievement. And not only that, but Anthony Lucas, who was supposed to be this unbelievably talented guy, he shows up last year. He does absolutely nothing. Anthony Lucas is a stud this year. Maybe not a guy who is a threat to sack the quarterback every passing down. I don't know that he's developed that skill yet. But you want to run the edge against Anthony Lucas, you want to pull somebody and try to block that dude, you better have that chin strap buckled. That guy is physical and he is tough and he is committed to playing hard-nosed football. I did not see that coming either. This defensive staff has done a fantastic job with that group. And if you happen to be, I don't know, let's say you're a defensive tackle from the state of Louisiana and you're trying to figure out where to play. If they can do that with those guys, what do you think they can do with you? I mean, really, all of this stuff about, okay, Coach Henney, yeah, he coached Aaron Donald, but Aaron Donald was already great. Aaron Donald was telling us he was great. He was telling us that, but everybody wants to say, whatever. Aaron Donald was a Hall of Famer before he got there. Coach Henney knows what he's doing. That guy can coach football. If you're a talented defensive lineman, go play for that dude. Because those other guys are not guys that everybody else in the world wanted. They're not. And they're playing, I mean, they're standing up to really tough, good groups, and they're more than holding their own. That's impressive. Eric, good point. 4-4. Okay. What do we think of the 12:30 start time this week, Eric?
So Mark went full media answer on the big house question. I went fan on that. I'm gonna flip things. I'm gonna go full media answer on this one. It's phenomenal. Phenomenal. Love it. Love that. Love the game. I know there's no time to tailgate. You got to get there too early. I totally get it. I get, the 5 p.m. start is great. I'm sorry. I can't be upset about the 12:30 start. That's fine. That's fine with me. Especially it doesn't seem like it's gonna be hot. Seems like it'll be a nice day to sit in the stands at 12:30.
Seems like it's been a long time. You know, that 12:30 time slot used to be the big one on ABC some years ago. It's been a long time though. Mark, you excited about 12:30? Are you once again like you did and like Eric did, talk about all this media stuff that nobody freaking cares about? You can talk about the average guy, the guy in the stands, the guy who works hard to pay tickets to bring his family to the game. You can talk about that guy?
I think you set this up perfectly for me, Chris.
That was the plan.
Even though USC lost to Michigan, 12:30 Pacific Coast is primetime 3:30 game of the week everywhere else in the country, just specifically on the East Coast or in the Eastern time zone. I mean, a lot of eyeballs on this game. I'm fine with the 12:30 start. And from a personal outlook on it, I can probably get to bed at a decent hour. I'm not going to be trying to recuperate 2 days later because I'm not getting to bed till 2, 3 in the morning or later. I'm perfectly fine with the 12:30 start. Absolutely. I think
Mark hates fish for dinner, but he's fine with it for lunch, apparently. So that's good. That's good for him.
Mark doesn't eat fish, period.
Here's the problem. The problem I have with 12:30 is that so early that Mark, you're probably not going to be able to tailgate at all. And what I wanted to tell people was to have their fish sticks ready for you. If they see you walking by, to have the fish stick tailgate and make you a part of that. That's what I wanted for you. And with the 12:30 start, I don't think we can have it. You know what? Nobody gets a point. It was a bad question. I didn't like the answers. It's still 4-4. Okay. Who will have a breakout game this week for the Trojans? Come on, Mark. Give me somebody good.
Oh man. I'm going with a wide receiver, and I'm not going with Zachariah Branch. I think Jay Fair is going to be a guy that people go, well, who is he? Where's he been? I think the coaching staff is going to use this game as maybe a little bit of a wake up call for some guys who maybe thought they had their positions kind of set in stone. I'm looking for a guy to come off the bench, kind of steal the show.
So Mark Holkin has Jay Fair as game MVP, starting his Heisman candidacy this week. McKinney, what do you think?
That's what I said.
I
Who do
thought
you have?
about going I thought about going offense too because the stats are a little bit easier if you did, this many catches, this many rushes on defense. There might be plays where you don't get a tackle. Quentin Joyner was a guy that I had in there. I think he could be due. I think he ran well against Michigan. I'm gonna go with a guy that we talked about, and it's tough. What do you consider a breakout game? Uh, but I think Anthony Lucas put some stats up in this one. It's been sort of highlights and again plays that don't show up on the stat sheet. He's got 6 tackles, no tackles for loss, no sacks. So I'm gonna say a sack or two, a couple tackles for loss. That constitutes something that he hasn't done quite this year. But he's a guy who I feel like there's karma on his side where when you do the dirty work plays and the really tough plays, something's going to fall in your lap. Someone's going to chase a quarterback into you. You get to fall on him and you get to celebrate the sack. And I think that happens for him once or twice this time.
Okay. I like that. I like that Mark went with the creative outside the box answer. But I think Eric's right. I think it's time for Anthony Lucas to put some numbers on the stat sheet. He's played too well for it not to happen eventually. Okay. Who should be on upset watch this week? Eric?
Mark Holkin, this thing's over.
It would. So you're conceding it's an upset when you win? That's a fair point. I think it
He
is.
was he was on a 2-game winning streak. I saw the line. I saw the line coming into this. I didn't want to jinx it by saying anything at the beginning, but I'm feeling good now.
He was a 1.5 question favorite coming in. All right, Mark, are you going to actually talk about a college football team, which is kind of what I had in mind, or what?
Yeah, I'm just scrolling through these top 25 games right now because I had no idea who was playing this week. So
Don't admit to absolutely no preparation like that. That doesn't
I'm
help.
gonna go. I've got my game. I'm gonna go. Texas A&M is going to lose at home to Arkansas. I watched Arkansas, and look, I know Auburn isn't a good team, but Arkansas will punch you in the mouth and stand over you and watch you bleed. I mean, they were throwing some freaking shots out there on defense, and on some of the highlights I saw.
The game is at Kyle Field, though. It's at
Yeah,
A&M.
yes, it is.
How is Arkansas going to deal with that whole egg thing? Remember that egg thing that we saw before? I don't know if you can deal with that coming in as a visiting team.
This is one of those old Southwest Conference things kind of reuniting, and Arkansas is going to figure it out.
You know what? You know how to touch my soul. It would make me laugh if Texas A&M lost this week. The only answer that would have been better, of course, is Oklahoma. Um, Auburn isn't great, but OU can't score. They're playing on the road. That game is going to be low scoring. And I was thinking about this earlier because I saw that tweet about how Brent Venables has lost 11 games in 30, whereas
Riley's
Lincoln
lost.
Riley lost only 10 and 65. And I thought, yeah, but by the end of this year, I think Venables is going to be 23 and 15, maybe 24 and 14 at the best, which, by the way, would give him a worse winning percentage than Clay Helton had at USC. And OU fans, you know it's coming and you don't like to hear it, but that's pretty sweet. I mean, it's pretty sweet that this is going to happen to your program. And from now on, I'm going to call Brent Venables Clay Venables because as he leads that gang of warriors in Norman to a 6-6 or 7-5 season, I can really appreciate that. Okay, Mark, you get the point because you actually answered the question with a college football reference, which is nice. It's now 5-5, and this is the most important question of the week, maybe the most important question of the year. And Mark, you get to answer it first. That puts you in a driving spot, right? I mean, you should win this game and get three in a row. What biblical plague should hit the UCLA Oregon game this week?
So I'm going to make sure that I have God on my side for this one.
Okay.
I'm going, hey, look, do not mess with the Israelites when they're trying to leave Egypt. You look at those plagues, water turning to blood, frogs, pestilence, flies, lice.
Yeah, are you going to choose one?
Yeah, I'm going for the most extreme, darkness and killing of the first unborn.
That's dark even for me, Mark. I wasn't going to wish that on UCLA and
We're
Oregon. I
talking about
mean,
UCLA and Oregon, Chris. We're talking about the devil
we
and
are
his
talking
best
about
friend.
UCLA and Oregon. I'm with you. So Mark actually went there, Eric. What are you going to go with? What is the appropriate biblical plague to strike UCLA Oregon? I think we all know one needs to happen. I just want to know which one.
No, he was close. It's just darkness, right? I don't want anybody to get hurt. I just don't want to see it. I don't want ever anybody to have to see
Firstborn,
that.
just the firstborn. They can have everybody else.
Okay, look, you're both in agreement on the darkness, and that makes sense because that means that you don't have to see Oregon's uniforms. You don't have to see whatever it is that UCLA's trotting out there this year, which nobody should have to watch. Um, I don't know about the firstborn. Look, I want to be there with you, Mark. I don't know that I can wish death even on UCLA and Oregon. I just don't know that I can. I would have gone with frogs. If you would have gone with that, if you went on locusts, I would have gone with that. Water turning to blood, I don't want. I don't want the whole Southland to have to drink bloody water. That doesn't make any sense. But the other things I can do. Uh, Eric McKinney, for showing mercy to UCLA and Oregon, which is something I don't think I would ever have given a point for. You won this game. Congratulations on your first win in a very, very long time. You feel good about
You know,
yourself?
it feels probably even longer than it actually has been. This is
it's
great. I may take the rest of this week off. You guys may need to cover Wisconsin on your own.
it's a huge weight off your shoulders. This is like USC Notre Dame in '96.
And for everybody listening out there, I do not wish death. This was a joke. It was having some fun. Calm
Don't
down.
worry. I already ran the text disclaimer under at the bottom of
Trigger
this as
warning.
soon as you
Trigger
start
warning.
talking.
Well, you know what? Look, sometimes in the heat of the moment, stuff comes out. That's the way this is. Okay, guys, anything you want to share with the people? Oh, I know what we need to share with the people. We need to talk. If you don't have tickets to Wisconsin right now, and if you don't, the game's sold out. You can't just show up at the ticket office. You're going to have to go in the secondary market. I'm going to give you the very best option on the secondary market. Game Time. Go to the Game Time app, download it. You get $20 off if you put on three in there, ON with the number three. You get $20 off your first purchase. Um, some rules apply to that, but they're all reasonable. And I know they're reasonable because I did, in fact, download the Game Time app. I bought tickets. I got my $20. I can buy at least one order of fish sticks with that if I want. And so I feel good. So do the same thing. Get out to the Coliseum. These guys deserve your support. They're playing hard. Show up. These guys can't tailgate because they're going to be up there doing press things, but I can tailgate. So if you want to invite me to your tailgate after you bought tickets on Game Time, feel free to do so. I'll eat your food and I'll drink your wine. Guys, anything else we should add before we disappear?
Real quick
That's
question.
it. USC. Go ahead.
I was going to say, Eric, Chris, your thoughts on Reggie Bush and his latest lawsuit?
So suing the NCAA doesn't bother me in the slightest. I'm in favor of doing that anytime you can. But Reggie has cost USC enough with his unwillingness to do what he should have done to make that problem go away a long time ago, that I'm not a fan of the new lawsuit. Maybe it has legal merit, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I mean, the statute of limitations seems to be an issue to me. It was 20 years ago, but maybe he's found a way around that. But I can't feel good about it. Just when I was starting to feel good about Reggie again, I don't know.
Agreed.
All right, I'll award myself a point then. All right, that's it, guys. Big bounce back week this week. We'll come back next week. Eric McKinney will be the defending champ. Who knows what will happen? Who knows who Mark will want to die next week? It'll be very interesting to see. In the meantime, fight on, everybody.